Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Garbaugust 2024, Garbaugust 3D. This is a BookTube event created by Ollie at Criminali, designed to celebrate the reading of garbage in the month of August, to get us all read trash. And I have been letting the side down with Garbaugust. I have been reading lots and lots of trash, but I haven't been making videos. And the reason for that is because there are all kinds of trash. And I read new releases in the American book market. That's the bulk of what reading I do. And most of those new releases are trash. Most of them are garbage. They're just awful. They don't make any sense from A to B to C. They're poorly plotted, poorly paced, poor characters, poor writing. And sometimes it happens, lately it's been happening, that when I read maybe one, maybe even two such books during the course of a night's reading, I don't want to read even good trash at the end of that week. I want to restore myself with something actually good, something that isn't any variety of trash. And that's not good. That's not fair to Garbaugust, where I am, in fact, a co-host. So I took it upon myself last night, rather this morning, first thing this morning, to read something that you can't go wrong with. That you just can't go wrong with it. One of you sent me an ebook of William Makel's book, Crustaceans. Look at that cover. And you really can't go wrong with giant killer animals. The only problem here is that I wanted to read trash of which there is no version, no possibility that could be the bad kind of trash. I wanted to read a kind of book that couldn't be the bad kind of trash. The bad kind of trash is a book that has potential to be actually good and is simply bungled. And I've been reading way too many of those during my nighttime reading, and so maybe the cure was just not to read my trash at night. I read this morning. Maybe that's the key, is just to do that. But if the goal is to read the kind of trash that cannot have a worthwhile version, or by extension, a worthwhile version that can be done poorly. In other words, if there's no measure of disappointment, well, then you're all set. Then you're golden. The problem is that so many of the kinds of trash that we talk about at Garbaugust can have legitimately good examples. So many of them do. I don't know about how much fantasy or science fiction that you've read, or for that matter, murder mysteries, but it's entirely possible for a double-digit entry in a long-running series to be good. Actually good. I've read them. I just read one the other day. It's entirely possible for that to happen. So, although that is a yardstick that we use for garbage, it's not a foolproof one. It could be that since it's possible for a double-digit entry in a long-running series to be legitimately good, it's also possible to be disappointed when a double-digit entry in a long-running series is bad. See what I mean? Same thing is true with giant killer animals. That's another of our fun yardsticks for garbage. But Peter Benchley's Jaws has a giant killer animal, and it's a good book. One could even argue that Moby Dick has a giant killer animal. It's a good book. I wanted to pick something that would remove all possibility of disappointment in a book that could be good being bad. And largely that requires that the author be in on the joke. So I went to giant killer crabs. It was suggested, it was sent to me. So I wouldn't have found it otherwise. I'm not sure that I would have had an easy answer. But instead I found this. Let's just put it this way. Nobody, no writer in the world could make this good. So I was, believe it or not, relieved by that fact, and it was smooth sailing, because this is a book about giant, malevolent killer crabs. Not a metaphor, not a simile, not a dream, not a hoax, not an imaginary story, just giant, malevolent killer crabs. A whale carcass washes up outside of Boston. And when a group of people go there to take samples and maybe cut open a little bit of it and let out the gases, they are carved to pieces by the things that killed the whale, which is giant crabs that got inside it and ripped it apart from the inside. And the story jumps around after that. It's very, very stereotypical trashy adventure story in that there are multiple key characters. There's a very USA original movie friendly cast of stereotypes here. There's a down on his luck alcoholic loser who fishes in the bay for a living. He lives on a ramshackle hut. Nobody likes him. He's just old enough in the book to be played by one of those TV actors who had a great role 30 years ago and has been doing USA Today movies since. It's just the right age for that. He finds one of these crabs when it's juvenile and manages to capture it and keep it in a tank, while other of these crabs are rampaging all over the world. Their population seems to be growing, which causes the U.S. government in a long straight line of black unmarked limousines and the agents all in matching suits with black mirrored sunglasses to find a marine biologist, Shona Mendez. Naturally, she is a spunky, extremely slang-equipping, take charge girl boss who don't need no man, who has daddy issues. And she is easily castable. Her father, who's an expert on these giant killer crabs, who monitored their first outbreak years ago, and is disaffected with her. They have a relationship that is going to need mending in the course of the movie. The relationships always mend in the course of these movies. He's easily castable as well. Maybe Sam Neill needs a quick $3,000 or something like that. All of it is easily castable. All of it is. There's a colonel, of course, from the U.S. government who knows more than he's saying and who's going to end up dead, but who's going to help with the exposition dumping that needs to happen in the first third of the book. And that is Colonel Stark. Or is it Stack? The book doesn't seem to be able to make up its mind. I don't know, and nor do I care. At one point, the crab that the down on his luck bum is keeping is growing bigger and bigger and bigger. It's growing to an absolutely unnatural size. The size of a pony is what we're told the larger of these things are. And the guy has the idea that, well, it certainly ain't no crab I've ever seen, so I'm going to sell it to the nearest zoological society or something. They'll pay me lots of money. And he strikes a deal with one such university. Of course, the person on the other end of the phone is snooty and condescending. But he doesn't strike a deal fast enough because that little crab's parent, we can assume, is looking for it. And this thing is as big as a John Deere tractor and just as powerful. And it attacks the shack. And it attacks the bimbo, author's words, not mine, this crusty old fisherman is shacking up with. It grabs her body in one pincer and uses its other pincer to neatly shear off her head and then starts to tear apart his shack. He's managed just to get out in time with the tank, with the crab. Because even though, the floozy that he was spending his time with has just been decapitated in front of him, he still wants that payday. Whereas, in the meantime, Shona, the marine biologist, has looked at the damage to this beached whale carcass and said, "Oh no, not them again. Surely I must call the one person who can help us if no one else can, who just so happens to be my dad. Hey, Dad. Long time no see." I swear, the crappy TV movie writes itself, and I'm sure that's the origin of this book. Positive that it is. This author just watched a million USA Today movies. They write themselves after a bit. You need some relationship to be repaired. You need some bum to prove his worth. You need all the characters who are avatars of any kind of authority. Fish and Game, the local sheriff, the local deputy, definitely the colonel involved, the agents in matching suits and black mirrored sunglasses. All of them need to die. All of them need to die. The plucky heroine, or the plucky hero, in the case of Jaws, for instance, will not die. It will seem like they do, but they won't. And some solution will be found to the fact that these crabs have made their way into the sewers, and like so many opportunists for whom Beantown is not good enough, are making their way to New York, where they intend to wreak havoc and eat all the insufferable people. Why this isn't considered urban renewal, I don't know. If I had a button that I could press that would unleash Volkswagen-sized killer crabs on New York City, I'd probably do it. But That may be a little baseball rivalry creeping in. This was exactly what I needed. Exactly what I needed. This was utter, complete, predictable, shallow, stupid garbage. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So the person who sent this to me is watching this video, I'm sure. Thank you very much. It was exactly what I needed. So I'm hoping that this means that I'm back in the saddle for Garbaugust, because I don't want to let the rest of the month go by without doing Garbaugust video every day. I have been trying to add trash to my night's reading every time that I haven't been making videos. I have the night's reading, and then I think, you should add on some booktube events to the night, especially if it's a Slack night. And then so I'd pick a book that looks like garbage, and it would just end up irritating me, because I think, oh no, you could have done this much better. There is a good way to do this, but there's no good way to do Crustaceans. Unfortunately, this author doesn't try. Instead, he does it the bad way. Many, many dozens of bad ways. So this was delightful. And I'm hoping that it means a return to form for Garbaugust. So there you go. That is my Garbaugust report, my trash pickup for today. But I'll be back, I hope. I'll see you then. Thank you, BookTube.